everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. We've got some more transfer news for you guys. I hope you're doing very well. I'm going to try and be as active as possible in January. We've got another video coming later today as well, another live video hopefully as well. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also, before I get into things as well, we've got to have a big shout out to our new sponsors, Stocks FC. If you've never heard of Stocks FC, there's a link in the description for you to check them out. You don't have to download it or anything. It's basically a way that you can invest in your favorite players. So if you fancy making a little bit of money, you can head over to Stocks FC, check it out. Looks like good fun. Without further ado, let's dive into all of the latest regarding Chelsea Football Club. Those of you who have been actively looking at what's happening in the transfer market, it's moving quite quickly because 1 minute we're looking at one player, another minute we're looking at another player. We have gone from the stage of thinking, and this is what I thought a couple of days ago when I did my review of the Crystal Palace match. We've gone from thinking about, well, it's not going to be a very busy window. It's going to be quiet. Nothing much is going to happen. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll just bring Chukwu back on loan. And that's probably about as much as we'll get. And now we are thinking in a very different way, in a very positive way, an optimistic way. It's not just about who we bring in. It's about the quality of who we bring in and the fact that we are still willing to invest in the market to make sure, first of all, that we can guarantee ourselves top four, because, I mean, if I'm honest, I do still think we are good enough for that position as long as we can keep players fit. But that is the thing. We can't keep players fit. So I'm very much in the camp now where I'm looking at these players within the squad that we have at the moment, and I don't think you can count on them to stay fit for the whole season. I just don't think it's realistic. And that is why it looks like we're going to be diving into the market, because you've got key players in key positions that are just not available. So, it's not their fault. I mean, that a lot of these players are injury prone anyway. So you can look at the recruitment from that standpoint and then say, make sure you get it right this time, because if you bring in another injury prone player, then you're just stupid at this point. You're not all there. But that is where I stand on the market at the moment. And I do think that there will be some money spent, and hopefully we can have some good outgoings as well. We've got a number of players looking to leave. I mean, it's not exactly difficult to see who it is. You've got Chukwuemeka, Dewsbury Hall, Disasi potentially on the way out. But that depends on who we bring in as well. Or if we look to bring someone in, is there going to be offers for him? And Nkunku as well, linked with PSG. I think that'll be a great move for him. He would fit into the project in Paris. They've literally said we want to go away from the big money signings, the big name signings, these superstars, Galacticos, whatever you want to call them. And we want to move to a system where we're signing younger players or French players. And Nkunku is French, and he's still pretty young, if I'm honest with you. So I think that's a great move for PSG. He knows the club as well. But listen, without further ado, let's dive into the latest. I'll just say hello to everyone. Hope we're doing well. Quayo, big Chelsea fan, good to see you. Louise, signed Piero Hincapi. No idea who that is. Bruce, I'm the right fit. I'll lock Haaland down. Big up to you, Bruce. Joseph, hope you're doing well, mate. Dre, Nkunku is a PSG product, exactly. So I think he would be very open to the idea of going back to France. It is his home country. Donna Cullen is back in town. Here we go, Donna. Back again. Okay, nice one. So yeah, let's go from it. Let's see where we're at the moment. It's the 7th of January, and a lot has happened within the past couple of days. So with regards to Trevoh Chalobah, it's interesting looking at Crystal Palace's stance on that. Oliver Glasner, he's basically said that he doesn't know what Chelsea are planning. Trevoh is doing very well for Crystal Palace. This was a couple of days ago. He also said that I could see that there was Disasi and Tosin on the bench. I don't know if you need another centre-back if you play with two. I was just reading that Anselmino comes back, so they have 5. So I think Glasgow would be a little bit surprised as to why Chelsea would be considering bringing back Trevoh Chalobah. But, whatever it is, the club have their reasons. And also, you've got to remember as well, you've got Disasi, you've got Tosin, Anselmino as well. These guys are not players that are going to come in straight away and solidify that back line and say, this is my spot. Now, out of the 3 of them, I'd prefer Tosin. I think Tosin's the best of the bunch. But Anselmino's very young. It's been very clear as to why he's been brought back. It's not because of his great footballing ability and he's going to come and save us and we're going to keep so many clean sheets because Anselmino's in the side. It's because he needs to climatize. That's what's been said. And for those of you who don't know what climatize means, it basically means that he needs to get used to England, being around Cobham and the shit weather, because it's going to be very different to Argentina. So I can appreciate that players coming from that part of the world, it might be a little bit of a shock to the system. So yeah, there's definitely a good reason to bring Chalobah back, but it's not just him. I mean, yesterday obviously it come out, it said that we were considering recalling him. And that's because of the defensive injuries that we've had. There is a break clause in his deal. That is according to Simon Johnson Sports. The question is, though, would you like to see Trevoh Chalobah returning to Chelsea? So we have a look on X. Let's see what people said on X, and then I want to see what your comments are as well. Yes. Another mid. Okay, so that's probably a no, I'm guessing. Yes, it's always baffled me how they chose Disasi over him. He's so steady. He'll only stop us from making any panic buy this January, but he's not better than what we have. Doubt he'll improve us in any way. Imagine after all this adversity and Jehovah's Son comes and excels. Greatest story ever. I couldn't agree more. Mitch said yes, and the club should make a public apology for how they treated him in the summer too. So it's interesting looking at what people have to say about Trevoh Chalobah. The overriding feeling based on that is yes. Do I think it's a good decision to bring Chalobah back? I think there's certainly an argument to be made for that. I'm not just going to say yes, because I also like Marc Guehi. I also like Tomori. I also like Diomande. There's a number of options that I like. And they look like bloody good options as well. Let's see what you guys are saying. KD says Diomande is a very good option. Very young as well, 21 years old. He's got a lot of the qualities that we need. Mr. Russo, your club is on the right track. Don't worry, you're in the title race. I don't know why you call me Mr. Russo. That's not even my name. It's not even my last name. Not Guehi, bro. Too short. I don't think that's really a problem. I mean, we've got a lot of height in there, and height does not constitute quality. If height is everything, Tosin would be the best centre-back in the league, and Disasi would be starting for us. It's not all about height. It's about what you can do and the way you are on the pitch. In that case, Oliver Glasner won't explain. It might if we exchanged Disasi for Chalobah. I don't think... I think Palace would be open to Disasi. I think they would. But I don't think Disasi would want to go to Palace. Why would he? When he's still getting minutes at Chelsea. He's not getting regular minutes, but he is getting minutes. So I don't think it makes any sense for Disasi from his side to go to Palace. KD says Chalobah eventually has to be sold. Get Chalobah back. It's interesting, guys, looking at your opinions on this. It's very interesting. But I think this is certainly a deal that we need to appreciate could happen. And I think that we have to appreciate it's good business as well. It is good business in terms of what's happening right now. It was never good business to let Chalobah go. We should have never done that. I always knew that. He's a better defender than all of them. I honestly think, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways, you could argue that Chalobah's a better defender than Fofana. And people say I'm a hater. Chalobah's available. Chalobah could help us right now. Where the fuck is Fofana? Where is he? Where the fuck is he? And that is, I would rather have a player like Chalobah in my squad than Fofana. All right, cool. Fofana, you play well for 15 games, mate. Well done. Well done. Off to the physio. Bye. Hey, before you go, there's your 200 grand a week. Fuck right off. No way. Disgrace. Terrible business. Absolutely terrible business bringing in Fofana. And you know what? I don't even dislike Fofana as a person, like on a personal level. I've met Fofana. He's a nice guy. He even gave the channel a shout out a couple of years ago when he first come to the club. But we have to say it for what we see it as. He is not the player you build this team around. I'm not even saying Chalobah is the player you build this team around. I'm certainly not saying you build this team around Tosin or Disasi. I'm not saying that either. And Salmino could be the answer long term. But he's certainly not the option short term. But I do think Chalobah can fill a gap and certainly make an impact as well. People say he's not capable of playing in the system. He played under Thomas Tuchel and played very well. That was a back three, though. So maybe a little bit different in a back four. Okay, let's see what else is happening. Obviously, Marc Guehi has been internally discussed as an option as well, according to Fabrizio Romano. Now, this is obviously a much more expensive deal, but this solves a lot of issues short-term and long-term. And this is what I would call a signing very similar to Pedro Neto, established, ready-made player. You know he's good enough, and you know he's going to do well. You just know he will. Marc Guehi played for Chelsea. He was a Cobham graduate. He should have never been sold, to be quite frank. He was probably good enough to come into the squad a couple of years ago. That's my opinion. I feel a similar way about Marc Guehi as I did to Nathan Ake when he left. I remember Nathan Ake playing in the FA Cup semi-final when we beat Tottenham 4-2. Played really well. And then we sell the guy. And I just think, I don't understand why we do it. I understand FFP and you've got to sell players on the books, but is it not just cheaper to not spend money on a transfer in the first place? Is it not more efficient to just bring your own players? And also from a marketing perspective as well, how good is it to bring in your own academy products? So I never understood why we got rid of Marc Guehi. I really didn't understand it. But we did. It ended up happening. And that interest has certainly heating up over the past 24 hours regarding Marc Guehi. We then had, Sky reporting that we were really interested in the player. We made we have actually made an offer for the player as well, which has been described as an embarrassing offer, much, much lower than the valuation that Crystal Palace are looking for. But I mean, we're certainly looking at the play. He's obviously not the only player, as I've said, that we're looking at in that position. But he certainly is one of the best ones you can get, especially in the January market. You've got to remember, you need players that are actually plausible. You look at, I don't know, who else could we try and sign in January? Let's look at Liam Delap, right, for example. You could try and sign him in January, but that's a very difficult deal to happen because you would argue if Delap leaves Ipswich, they're going to go down because he's their best player. So why would they sell him? Whereas Marc Guehi, he goes and Palace could still probably stay up. It would be a relegation battle for them, but they could still stay up. And you would guess they bring someone else in, but they still have Chalobah. I mean, what Fabrizio Romano has also reported is that if Chelsea decide to attack for Marc Guehi, Chalobah could be a point of contact in terms of the discussion between clubs. Chelsea think Guehi is one of the most interesting options, and I absolutely agree with that. I suppose, yeah, I mean, we could recall Chalobah anyway, but yeah, I mean, they'd rather keep Guehi over Chalobah, I can imagine. He's worth, obviously, he's their player, isn't he? So Enzo Maresca, it seems like he's a big fan from what I've read. He likes the player. He's a fan of the player. And the transfer is doable. It's a doable deal. Newcastle offered about 40 or 50 million. I think Crystal Palace held out for 60. They didn't get it. But I can understand why they did that. They already sold Anderson to Fulham. You want to keep hold of at least one of your centre-backs because that's a huge loss with Anderson anyway. So I can understand why they're looking for a big price. Now, it's said that Marc Guehi would command a fee of around £170,000 per week. Now, it'd be interesting to see your thoughts on this, guys. This was reported by Sam Mokel. I don't know if he's elaborated any more on this. Has he said anything else about it? Let's have a look at the article he's posted. Okay. Chelsea considering signing Crystal Palace star Marc Guehi, and the club could be forced to drop asking price for 70 million international in a boost for the Blues. Chelsea are exploring a return to Stamford Bridge for the defender Marc Guehi. Palace are aware of Chelsea's interest following the injury to Wesley Fofana. Mail Sport has learnt that machinations over a potential swoop this month have taken place, with the Selhurst Park club aware of Chelsea's interest following the injury to Wesley Fofana. The Blues are ready to bring in a new central defender, with one option considered being recalling Trevoh Chalobah from his loan spell at Palace. But Palace are also open to entering the transfer market, with Guehi among the names towards the top of their list. A move would be complicated, given Palace's desire to keep Guehi at the club and, in the best case scenario, persuade him to sign a new deal. However, the England international Guehi has just 18 months left on his contract. Palace's grip over their central defender's future is weakened. He's obviously not signing a new deal. And that's not surprising either. Enzo Maresca is a huge fan of Guehi. Was excellent against Chelsea in the 1-1 draw between the two clubs on Saturday. Palace valued Guehi at around 70 million in the summer. I thought it was 60. My God, that's ridiculous. But that asking price may have dropped, given he can sign a pre-contract agreement with a foreign club in less than a year. Coincidentally, Chelsea could use Chalobah as a make-weight in any deal for Guehi. However, Mail Sport understands Palace would prefer a straight cash agreement for their centre-back. Any move to Stamford Bridge for Guehi would also be complicated by the fact that Chelsea have a sell-on clause of between 17 and 20% after selling the 24-year-old to Palace in 2021. Now, I actually didn't know that. And that is massive. 17 to 20%. That's huge. That's unbelievable. Let's just say worst case. Worst case, guys. Seventeen 17% worst case. Right. I still have VPN on, man. Sorry about that. I just had to go onto a different internet. So what does that mean? That means, fuck's sake. Let me get the maths. The worst case scenario, for fuck's sake, man. Is it that hard to just fucking... Yeah. So if it's a 17% clause that we have in terms of the sale of Marc Guehi, if they were to sell him to, let's just say Man City came in, then we would get £8.5 million of a 50 million transfer. Yeah. So 41.5 million would go to Crystal Palace and the rest would go to us. And that's worst case. So if we're saying between 17 and 20%, it could be a little bit more. It could be 10 million. All right. But that obviously depends on the fee that they negotiate. I'm just going to presume it's the worst case, so 17, which is still a really, really good amount. Usually these deals are what, 10%, something like that. So to have a deal like that, that's really good business. And that was Marina Granovskaya as well, who negotiated that. So that's fantastic. That's fantastic business from her side. She did do a lot of these deals for Chelsea. I remember we negotiated a great deal for Hazard as well when we sold him. So this is no real surprise. And this is something we should continue to do. Getting these big sell-on clauses, it's absolutely fantastic. That puts us in a really good position because either... But you've got to think from Palace's side that if they're getting 50 million in the transfer, they're not actually receiving that money because we're getting a percentage of it. So maybe it's better from their side to sell directly to us for a smaller amount, but then it still works out as more money for them because they don't have to pay that percentage off. If that makes sense, guys. I don't know if you're with me on that. So if we can get a direct deal with Palace as opposed to just getting a fee, which would still be good. I mean, 8.5 million, nobody's going to shy away from that. But if we can go directly to them, and instead of them getting 50 million from another team, why not just go directly to us for, let's just say 40 or 45? It seems like a worse deal for Palace because it's a lower amount. But actually, because they don't have to put that sell-on clause into that deal, and I'm guessing they wouldn't have to, maybe that's negotiable, then we would be in a position where we get a discount for the player anyway, and we get the player directly. So we just get a nice deal, really. So worst case, we receive, give or take, 8.5 million to 10 million pounds. That's providing he goes for about 50 million, which I think is still okay. Or we just get a discounted rate on the defender because of the sell-on clause that we inserted in 2021. It is basically the same thing, but it's just good to see it from those sides. Guehi feels like another Koulibaly. I don't think you can say that, Peter, because he's established, he's Premier League proven, and he's an England international who played for Chelsea during his youth years. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. Anyway, it is unclear how the clause would be activated if Chelsea are the buying club. But we've already been through what could potentially happen. Chelsea would also need to consider whether a move for Guehi would fit into their wage structure, with their American owners moving away from paying big remuneration packages. It's likely Guehi would command a salary of around 170,000 a week. Chelsea are not ruling out recalling Chalobah instead of dipping into the transfer market. So this is when Guehi played for Chelsea in 2019 in the Carabao Cup. Yeah, so we're talking about Chalobah now. He's played an integral role in Oliver Glasner's team so far. Chelsea, however, do have a recall option as part of their agreement. We already know this. Fofana is going to be injured. Palace are believed to be aware of the fact that Chelsea are weighing up to bring Chalobah back across London, with the Eagles understood to be relaxed by the possibility. Chalobah, for his part, is set to be keeping an open mind about the possibility of returning to Stamford Bridge, despite the fact that he was effectively forced out of the club in the summer. The defender was told that he had no future at Chelsea in the summer and was told to train away from the senior setup, so the prospect of recalling him would provide quite a twist. And I have to admit, if Chalobah did come up, I mean, what a story. Bring back the Trevoh. Play the clip, Alex. Play the clip. Play the clip. I can't not play it. I can't not play it. I've got to, I'm sorry.
I'm just standing at the bar with Trevoh Chalobah. I'm just standing at the bar with Trevoh Chalobah. I'm just standing at the bar with Trevoh Chalobah. I'm just standing at the bar with Trevoh Chalobah.
I'm just standing at the bar with Trevoh Chalobah. I want to bring that back. Bring back Chalobah to the bridge. What do you say, people? I say, hey, I'm an open book. I'd love to just bring him back for that chant alone. Bring him back and don't play him. I still get to do the chant. Might not be in the pitch. Anyway. But no, on a serious note, I don't think it's bad business bringing in Chalobah. I really don't. I think it's, look, you learn from your mistakes. We should have never got rid of him. We know why we got rid of him, but it's come back to bite us. And that's the reality of it, really. So yeah, I mean, Chalobah as well. You've got to remember, it's not just the fee that's an issue with Guehi. Obviously, Chalobah will just stay on the same salary he was on in the first place, which isn't ridiculously high. But Guehi's, if he's commanding 170 a week, then that could prove to be a problem. I mean, I don't know how much money he's on at Palace at the moment. I can't imagine he's on much more than 60 grand a week. Says he's on a £13 million contract, and that's a 5-year deal. It's not a bad amount. How much is that a week? Let's find out. So that's 2.6 million a week. A year, sorry. 2.6 million a year. Yeah, he's on about 55 grand a week at the moment, Marc Guehi. So he's looking to triple his salary, more than triple. So he's going to go from 55 grand a week to apparently demanding 170 grand a week. So I can appreciate the player's side. He obviously wants to make more money. He's at a bigger club. I can absolutely appreciate that. But I don't see that happening. I can see maybe him matching the likes of Tosin at 120. And the only reason we gave Tosin that much money in the first place is because we signed him on a free. We didn't even pay a transfer fee for Tosin. So 120 grand would be, I think, a fair valuation for Marc Guehi. Do I think he could be worth more? Yes. I think if you were pushing it, you would go to 140 or 150. I think when you hit the 170, then you're in a strange territory because you got Palmer who's on 130. You've got your best player on 130 grand a week. So any player that you pay more than that, I think that creates a dilemma. You've got Cole Palmer here. This man, if you've got someone earning more money than him, then I don't think Palmer's the kind of guy to complain. Fuck it, he can't complain anyway. He's on like a 10-year contract. But you still want players to be happy. You want players to be content. You want the dressing room to be good. These kind of things can create problems long term. So we can appreciate that you've got your Fofanas and your Enzo Fernandez and your Nkunkus who were signed on bigger contracts, and that was before the policy came into place. But right now, 170 grand at this moment in time seems like too much, if I'm being totally honest. That's just my opinion. So yeah, Chelsea have rejected a £10 million bid for Cesar Casady and are hoping for over £15 million. That is according to Ben Jacobs, who is a relatively reliable journalist regarding Chelsea Football Club. So, yeah, I mean, we signed him for about 10 million, I think, something like that. Yes, how much we signed for Chelsea transfer? We didn't sign him for much more than that, to be fair, but it's not a great profit either. I mean, he's worth about 10 million in terms of his market value anyway, so it's not like we got offered a terrible deal by Torino. Some people are reporting that we're looking for 20 million. I don't think that's true at all. Yeah, it's more like 15, 16. I heard it was about 16.5 million. So we paid 12.6 million plus 4.2 million in add-ons. So we're not really turning much of a profit with Casady. This is very much a deal where you've just got a player who's not really got a future at the club. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. You've got players like Ugochukwu who are on loan. You have Santos at loan at Strasbourg. Those two players, in my opinion, get straight into the midfield in terms of the squad. Santos, you could argue, actually gets into the starting 11 based on his form in France. And Ugochukwu was a great option off the bench. And Maresca seems to be a fan of him as well, based on what we've seen in pre-season. I thought Ugochukwu was a dark horse as well. I'm really surprised that he actually went on loan for the reason that we could use that depth in midfield. And I know the new Southampton manager wants to keep Ugochukwu, but does it not make sense to just bring him in? What experience is more valuable? The experience of fighting at the top of the table with Chelsea for Champions League football, still in the FA Cup, still in the Conference League, very capable of winning both of those trophies if we put our mind to it. You could almost say it's a certainty that we win the Conference League, and he'd probably get minutes in that competition as well. So you got the European football aspect. And then on top of that, he's going to be playing around better players. He's going to be training with better players. He's not going to be the best player or one of the best like he is at Southampton. So I just see, I think it's a bit like Anselmino as well. He's coming to Chelsea to adapt to the life, to adapt to the club. And I know Ugochukwu already been at the club for a season, but look, the guy needs to develop. I don't see why you develop at the bottom of the table at Southampton. It doesn't seem like a good fit to me. So that's my opinion on that. Ben Jacobs also reported that Chelsea are holding a genuine interest in Christopher Nkunku. Again, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'll just go through it one more time. This is a deal that makes sense for both sides. They want to get rid of Kolo Muani. Chelsea don't seem to be interested in Kolo Muani. There was a brief link, which was then palmed off. You know, that link was just news, nothing more than that, really. And yeah, from PSG's side, they want to get a player who can produce, not too expensive, fits into their structure. They're not going down the route of, you know, superstars anymore. And you could argue that Nkunku is a superstar, but he's a bit of a low-key superstar. He's not a big ego, and that fits in with what they're looking for. He's French as well. He knows the club. He's a product of their academy. So I completely understand why PSG would hold an interest in Nkunku. Maybe there's a deal to be done in January. And if Nkunku wants that deal to happen, I think it will happen. Chelsea have said that we are not actively looking to get rid of Nkunku. But if Nkunku comes out and says, listen, I'm not happy, I want to go, then the door is open. So we're not saying you have to stay. We're not saying you have to leave. We're giving the player a choice. And it looks to me that PSG is the first club that could be making a move for Nkunku in January. And I say all the best to him for you guys. I really don't think he's been given a chance. I think he was given a chance under previous regimes. I think Pochettino would have played great under Poch. Every time he played, generally speaking, he made an impact last season, but his injury problems were massive for us. You could even argue that with a player like that, maybe we could have got top four. Who knows? But it just hasn't gone in his favour since he's been at Chelsea. And, you know, for whatever reason, timing is certainly a part of this. You had Jackson coming in as well, who the club obviously wanted to develop. And, yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate, really. Also regarding Cesar Casade, there's not only interest from Torino, but there was also rumored to be interest from Feyenoord in Holland. But on top of that, we've got interest from Lazio. Now, this seems to be a good deal from their side, but as far as I'm aware, Lazio, I mean, this is the first I've heard from them. Di Marzio is quite a reliable Italian source. Again, if Casady wants to leave, then fair play to him. I mean, my opinion is if you want to get regular minutes, maybe Torino's a better shout, but Lazio's a good club as well. You know, they compete for European football. I'm not sure where they are in the table at the moment. But whoever pays the money is going to get the player, isn't it? So if they want to pay, it's like this: can't pay, we'll take it away. But if you can pay, you can take him away. Casady is there for the taking, guys. All you got to do is cough up the cash. John Obi Mikel speaks out on the striker again. He was talking about Nicholas Jackson. He's saying he's not scoring enough. He puts himself in the right positions and then isn't finishing. He doesn't score enough. He's not a striker who's going to get us top four or win us titles. He's not that striker. I don't think he can get us over the line. He's good on the ball and link up, but he's not scoring enough. I have to say I fundamentally disagree with that. I think Jackson's more than capable of getting us top four. Last season, if you look at the chances he missed, the way he missed, and if you compare that to this season, it just looks like a better player. He improved so much last season. He was among our most improved players alongside maybe Cucurella, Caicedo as well. But Jackson, I'd say, probably improved just as much as they did. And you might not just look at that from a goal-scoring standpoint. His hold-up play, his general link-up, everything about what he offers on the pitch, his pressing, The defensive aspect is massive. That's why we're looking at getting rid of Nkunku, because of his lack of defensive work rate. That's one of the main reasons. I don't think that a striker is actually as important as everyone else does. I really don't. I think that, you know, we can definitely get top four with Jackson. Now, the reason you get a striker is if Jackson gets injured, then what? Then you're in big trouble. And I totally agree with that. But I don't see who you sign. Moani doesn't seem to be the profile that we're looking for. The lap, it would be very difficult to force Ipswich's hand and sell the lap because of how important and how integral he is to their system. You know, you watch the game against us, the Ipswich match, he was legendary. That's what the commentator said. He won us a penalty. He won a penalty again against Fulham. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have got points in those games. So I think we've got to be very, very careful with what we ask for. If we're going to get a striker, that's fine. We've got to get the right striker. Don't just bring in a striker for any reason. You know, Tammy Abraham is not the answer. He's definitely not the answer. I would have never sold Tammy, by the way. I would have kept Tammy, but times have changed. And I don't think Tammy, although he's energetic, he's not actually that different to Jackson in a lot of ways. He likes to run a lot. He's got a lot of energy, but he misses a fucking ton of chances as well, Tammy Abraham. You know, so let's not sit here and go, he's the most clinical striker in the world. Tammy Abraham misses a lot of chances, but big up to him because of that goal in the cup final against Inter. That was the winner as well to make it 3-2. John Obi Mikkel, he came out and said a little bit more. He said, if we had Victor Osimhen or the guy from Sporting, Victor Gyökeres, we'd still be competing for the league. Maresca needs to talk to Jackson and get his confidence back. He's not scoring enough. Again, maybe you'd be right about that, about us competing for the league. That's fair. But that's not to say that Jackson's not good enough. Jackson, year on year, is getting better. And as long as I see him continue to improve, I have no reason to not want him to stay at the club because he's getting better. So you had 14 league goals last season. We're going to beat that tally this season. We're going to get over 20 goals. When was the last time we had a striker that did that? Diego Costa. Oh, did you hate Diego Costa now? Come on, people. You know, that's a great piece of business signing Nicholas Jackson and a great player to have. I don't understand the slander of this player. I think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. Absolutely ridiculous. Roman Abramovich explained to Drogba, you are the man, but injuries might come in, a dip of form. What are we going to do then? That's what Roman Abramovich explained to Drogba, and that's what Mikel is saying. Nicholas Jackson should not be angry. I'm saying this. It's for the betterment of the team and the club. Roman every year brings in another top striker. We had Anelka come in to help Drogba. Torres, Shevchenko. We need someone who knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. Some would say that's harsh. Others would say that that is the standard that we need to look for. So I can appreciate yeah. So that is the latest as it stands, guys. And we're definitely not bringing Rashford. Absolutely no. I don't want Rashford. PSG want Jackson. No, they don't. Okay. But listen, guys, we've got about 300 of you in the building based on X and YouTube as well. If you haven't already, smash the like button. It really does help. Let's get up to 50 likes on YouTube. I don't even know what you do on X. Do you just press the like button as well? Whatever it is. Really appreciate you guys watching. Big up to everyone. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Thanks so much for your time, guys. There will be some more content on the way. I'm trying my best. Yeah, if I haven't already reminded you, check out Stocks FC. There is a link in the description so you can trade your favorite footballers. You don't have to be a professional trader to do this. All you have to do is invest in players that you think will do well. And their stock, presumably, if they score goals or whatever it is they need to do, will go up, and maybe you can make some money as well. All the best, guys, and we will catch up very, very soon.